Hi, I'm Sherry Williams. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services, and I just want to tell you about the different services and resources that we have to offer you. I've provided you with several handouts that I want to go over with you. And the first one is the one titled Career Services Job Search Assistance. And really, what Career Services can do for you is really provide your resources to help you out with the job search. And those are the resources that I want to cover with you today. With your handout, you can follow along. And the first one is a career library. We do have a small collections of books down at the Houston Center in the Student Life Office, room 2300, to help you out with your career development. There are books in there on resume development, cover letter, tips on interviewing, so that you can review those books to help you out with your job search. I've also provided you with a job search flyer, and this flyer is a flyer that has various companies that hire for healthcare administration type positions. So it's the flyer that says healthcare administration. It lists various companies that hire in this field, and with the companies, some are just for the Houston area, but there are also some in the DFW area in case you're interested in relocating out of Houston. There's some that are nationwide. There's some in the Austin area, so various locations. On this handout, it also provides you with some job search websites for your field. There's several listed. The first few, Indeed, Jobbing.com, CareerJet, Simply Hired, all have various types of positions, and you can put in the position title that you're interested in, or the field, and the location, and it'll pull up some job opportunities that way. USA Jobs is for federal government jobs, so if you're interested in working for the federal government, you could look at the USA Jobs website. LinkedIn provides you with not only job search websites and job search resources, because employers actually post jobs on LinkedIn, so you can look at those job opportunities. But along with that, you can also set up a professional profile that's very similar to your resume, and recruiters sometimes tend to look at those profiles, and from the profiles determine if they'd like to contact you to see if you might be interested in a job opportunity. LinkedIn is also a great resource to help you out with networking, so you can network with other professionals in the field as well. So LinkedIn is a good resource to consider. There's also a website on there just specifically for healthcare administration jobs. So that last website listed on the handout is just for healthcare administration type jobs. So that's another resource that we offer. I've also provided you with a job search handbook. It's a booklet with all kinds of tips on searching for jobs, and there's a few things in the booklet that I want to reference. On pages 10 and 11 in the booklet, it has information on developing a resume, so guidelines for developing your resume. So it provides you with different information on the different kinds of categories on the resume, so that you can pick and choose from these categories as to which ones are more relevant for you. Also on pages 12 and 13, there's a whole list of action verbs to help you out with developing those keywords that you can use in order to be able to sell yourself. It's always good to use action verbs on your resume because they do really help to emphasize information and really help you with selling yourself. So that's something else in the job search handbook that you may want to take a look at. There are some sample resumes in the job search handbook. On page 14, there's an example of a functional type resume. Whereas on page 16, there's an example of the functional type resume as well. So both of those are functional. And then on page 17, there's an example of the chronological resume. So you can see the two different main types of formats for a resume so that you can think about which one is more relevant for you. The major difference between those two formats is the chronological type format really highlights work experience. So you list that in chronological order, most recent. So reverse chronological order, most recent first. Whereas if you don't have a lot of related work experience that relates to the position, you might want to consider using the functional type resume. So if you look on page 16, there's the example of the functional type resume. And then professional experience, it highlights transferable skills. So those subheadings would be transferable skills that you're highlighting. So those are the two different types of formats for the resume, so you could think about that as well. Now when you're applying for jobs, we do recommend that you include a cover letter as well. On page 24 in your job search handbook, It includes a sample cover letter that you can take a look at just to get a basic idea of the format and a basic idea of the type of information to include. It has a general outline that tells you other kinds of information that you could include and really guide you with doing your cover letter. So we have that in the job search handbook as well. Additionally, in the handbook, there's some information about interviewing. On pages 30 through 32, there's some information about interviewing. On page 30, it talks about successful interviews, so that can help you out with some tips on interviewing. On page 31, it talks about behavioral interviews. More and more companies are using behavioral type interviews, and those are interviews where they ask you to give them a scenario of how you have accomplished something. So you give an example or a scenario of a situation. So page 31 gives you some tips on how to answer those behavioral type questions. On page 32, there's a whole list of sample interview questions that you could take a look at to help you out with preparing for the interview. These are some of the commonly asked interview questions. Along with those questions, there are also questions to ask the interviewer, because that's something that tends to stump students sometimes. Many times at the end of the interviewer will ask you, do you have any questions? And it's always good to have questions to ask the interviewer, because that shows that you're prepared, that you did some research. It shows that you're still interested in the position. And there's a whole host of sample questions to ask the interviewer on page 32 to help you out with your interview as well. Now, after the interview, you definitely want to send a thank you letter. So on page 25 in the job search handbook, there's a sample thank you letter and some guidelines for doing a thank you letter as well. So this handbook is a handy guide to help you out with your job search process. Other resources that we have to help you out with this process are jobs that we receive. If they are just for Houston, we post them, the Houston campus posts them on their webpage through the Student Life office. On your handout, it has the web address for that. So if there's health positions just for the Houston area, they're posted on the Houston Student Life webpage. Now, if you're looking outside of Houston, you can check the Career Services webpage, because as we receive job opportunities that are nationwide and in the DFW area, we post those on our webpage. So you can take a look at the Career Services webpage. Our web address is listed at the bottom of the page on your handout. So you can take a look at that and utilize that as a resource to help you out with your job search. Also, Interview Stream. I understand you are all already doing Interview Stream to help you out with your interviewing process. So do continue to utilize that, because it can help you to really take a look at how you interact during an interview. So it's really a useful tool that you can utilize. So those are basically the resources that we provide to help you out with your job search process. One footnote to that information and these resources is what to encourage you to do is to start early with your job search. Career statistics state that it takes 6 to 9 months to locate a job these days, so I would encourage you to start about that time. So definitely start early with your job search, and you can utilize these resources to help you out with your job search. So hopefully I provided you with a good overview of the resources that we provide in Career Services to help you out with your job search process. I wish you all the best with your job search, and do utilize these resources. And once again, I do want to emphasize to start early. So good luck with your search, and I hope these resources will be helpful for you. Thank you so much.